Have you ever wondered about the voice that speaks to you in the quiet of the night? The one that guides you into dreams? Well, after an incredible 10 years of creating this space for sleep and relaxation, I thought it was about time I invited you into my world, just as you've so kindly invited me into yours. I've gathered up a collection of your questions, and I'm going to answer them right here from my bedroom. Now, I can't promise there won't be a few interruptions. A little dog, a cat, or the endless sounds of the city outside might make an appearance, but I do our best. One of the things I'm asked most often is whether I write my own stories, and the answer is, for the most part, yes. The vast majority of the tales you hear are spun from my own imagination. I have worked with others in the past, of course, and sometimes I'll dip into the world of classic literature, especially around the holidays, because there's a special kind of magic in revisiting the great works. Another frequent question is about hypnosis, and whether I've formally studied it. I have indeed delved into it quite a bit, though I don't hold a formal certification. A few years back, I was exploring it seriously and found myself at a crossroads. As an artist, I was drawn towards a path of healing through creative storytelling, a world that felt new and full of possibility. So, I leaned in that direction. But it was hypnosis that first gave me a handle on my own struggles with insomnia many years ago. So, how did this all begin? It wasn't exactly a straightforward path. I was working in the entertainment industry, singing, songwriting, appearing in commercials. I was starting to find a bit of success, which meant I had more time on my hands. But I felt deeply unfulfilled. I disliked waiting for someone else's permission to create, to be part of a project. A friend, who had a very popular online channel, gave me some sound advice. He said, "If you want control over your art and your life, you need to start your own channel." At the same time, one of the perks of my commercial work was that it gave me the freedom to volunteer. I started lending my voice to a charity that records educational books for people with disabilities that make reading difficult. I found such a profound sense of calm in that recording booth. I knew then that I wanted to do something that involved just my voice and a microphone. So many of my paying jobs were based on my appearance, not my voice, and I longed to create something that was truly mine, that spoke my truth and could help others. It was a perfect storm. Really, I had overcome my own insomnia by listening to sleep meditations online. I had discovered my love for voice work, and I had a deep desire to create something authentic. All those threads came together, and this sanctuary was born. When I started, I kept it very quiet. I told almost no one I knew. I think there's wisdom in that when you're starting something new. It protects you from the well-meaning opinions of people you care about. I just put the videos out there and let the internet find the people who needed them. It took a couple of years before I felt ready to share it with my own circle. That journey with insomnia was a real turning point. It wasn't one single thing that fixed it, but a collection of changes. Listening to sleep, hypnosis, and meditations was absolutely key. But through that practice, I started to understand what my life truly needed. I had to prioritize sleep, which meant changing my entire professional direction in the entertainment world. I had no control over my schedule. I could be on a night shoot or on tour, and my sleep was always the first casualty. By putting my physical and mental health first, new dreams began to form, lowering the stress in my life, changing my career, and setting regular working hours. That's what led me to a beautiful, consistent 8 hours of sleep a night. It was about tackling the real anxiety my lifestyle was causing. I also made practical changes. Blackout curtains are a game. My bedroom is pitch black at night. I keep the room cool and I have an absurd number of pillows. It's a combination of looking after your inner world and making your physical space as restful as possible. When asked to pick a favorite story from the hundreds I've written, it's almost an impossible task. But I have a real soft spot for the Cozy Village series. The characters are inspired by people who have been so important to my own happiness and growth. Every time I write about that place, which is based on my own neighborhood, I feel such a wonderful sense of connection to my community here. I also adore the Witch's Cottage stories. Those series feel like visiting old friends. Many of the cottage stories really are born from the fantasy worlds I escape to when the city feels a bit too much. Which brings me to a question I get a lot. Why do I live in a massive city when most of my stories are set in nature and small towns? The truth is, this city is one of the great loves of my life. I've dreamt of being here since I was a little girl. My life here has a beautiful balance. I'm surrounded by culture and art. I can walk everywhere, and I love the energy. But that convenience also makes it incredibly easy for me to leave and visit the beautiful, quiet places I write about. I often take the train to New England or the coast with my dog. It allows me to have the best of both worlds. The artistic connection of the city and the peaceful escape of the countryside. Inspiration for stories comes from all over. Sometimes it's a place I want to travel to. Other times, I'll just wake up with a fully formed vision from a dream. And often, my stories are inspired by the world I wish to see. If something negative is happening, personally or globally, my first instinct is to write a story that imagines a better way, a more hopeful reality, because I truly believe that hope and the action that comes from it is what pulls us through the darkest of times. Someone recently suggested a series set in Italy, which is a brilliant idea I'm now seriously considering. Another question was about the witch's cottage and whether I practice any form of witchcraft myself. I wouldn't say I follow any single path. I've always been a bit of a magpie, collecting ideas from different places. I've had periods of working with crystals, especially rose quartz when I needed more love in my life. I am someone who will absolutely sit in a circle of candles to meditate during a difficult time. I've always had a flair for ritual, and I am a huge lover of the moon. Setting intentions under the full moon in the middle of a city park is a powerful reminder that even when you are surrounded by concrete, nature and the vast universe are still right there with you. Now, a lot of you know about the recent loss of my sweet dog, Jack, and have asked how I'm doing. Thank you. I'm doing much better now. It was, without a doubt, the hardest experience of my life. When you say goodbye to an animal who has been your soulmate through some of the toughest years, you're not just saying goodbye to them, you're closing the door on all the chapters you shared, and that brings up grief for so many other things. It's so natural to want to shut your heart off from ever feeling that pain again. But I knew I wanted that kind of love in my life again, and so, eventually, I got Ache. My favorite memory of Jack. There are so many. I remember us being on a deserted beach during the pandemic when a thick fog rolled in. You could barely see a few feet in front of you. It was just me and him in this magical, misty world. I was going through so much at the time, but in that moment, I just started laughing. It was so beautifully carefree. He was the best travel companion. And are Jack and Ike similar? Yes and no. They both have that classic small dog attitude, that fierce determination when they want something. Ike is still a puppy, but he's already a fantastic traveler, just like Jack was. He's much better with children, which was important to me as I have 4 nieces and a nephew now. He's just a little bundle of love and kisses. A little girl on a recent trip even made a piece of art for him out of seashells. It was the sweetest thing. We're already on our way to making so many new memories together. Someone asked what I wish people knew about me. I suppose it's that things aren't always as effortless as they might look. I work incredibly hard, and I feel the whole spectrum of intense emotions, just like everyone else. I might appear composed on the outside, while internally, I'm navigating a storm of anxiety or grief. I think it's important to remember that the people you look up to, the ones who seem to have it all together, they struggle too. We all do. On a lighter note, my perfect dinner would have to be sushi, or perhaps Vietnamese or Thai food. I love flavors that are a mix of everything: spicy, savory, sweet, and sour. My favorite sleeping position, much to the dismay of my hips, is the fetal position. Though these days, I force myself to sleep on my back with a whole fortress of pillows. And do I believe love is eternal? Yes, I do. I think, like energy, it doesn't die, it just transforms. It might get redirected towards ourselves or to the next person who comes into our lives. But I believe the love itself remains. My current deepest fear is something I think many of us grapple with: pain. And the deterioration of things, whether that's our own bodies as we get older or the world around us. I'm not afraid of death itself, but the thought of chronic pain changing one's quality of life is something that definitely occupies my mind. As for my 3 favorite films, the ones I could watch over and over, that would be The Prince of Tides ***, It's a Wonderful Life ***, and a film that made me want to be a performer ***for the boys ***. And my musical taste is just as varied. It could be Joni Mitchell one day, Taylor Swift the next, or some classic jazz and bossa nova. Do I have any regrets? I try not to, but if I had to pick something, I regret how harsh I was with my parents when I was a teenager. I didn't understand then that they were just human, doing the best they could with what they had. It took distance and a few years of living on my own to mend that relationship. My greatest aspiration. In many ways, this sanctuary is a huge part of it. To keep growing this community, to have a positive effect, and to inspire more hope in the world. But there's a part of me that would still love to write a novel, perhaps see it turned into a film, or maybe record another album. I've been asked about visiting Northern California. And yes, I have, though it's been a while. My best friend and I used to just get in the car and drive up the coast for hours when we felt burnt out by life in LA. It's a beautiful part of the world I'd love to explore again one day, and for those who have admired my makeup, You might be surprised to learn my favorite eyeshadow palettes are from one of the most budget-friendly brands you can find at the chemist. I got into wearing pink eyeshadow when I turned 40, just for a bit of fun, and it stuck. Someone also asked about a certification I mentioned I was studying for. I haven't spoken about it much, but I also work in food education. I teach classes on cheese, pasta making, and wine pairings. So I was studying all the maps of wine regions for an exam. And whenever I found a particularly interesting place, I'd use that knowledge to create one of our sleep stories. Another question was about my relationship status. I do have a partner. We've been together for just over 3 years. At this stage of my life, I've chosen ease and joy, and our relationship is full of fun, adventure, and laughter. As for my future, I imagine it'll look a lot like one of my sleep stories. Maybe I'll be running a bed and breakfast in a lighthouse, or living in a cottage by the sea. I don't think I could ever give up the city completely, but I'd love to spend a month abroad here and there writing. And a huge part of my future is being the cool, artsy aunt to my nieces and nephew, sharing my love for this city and for adventure with them. A particularly lovely question was about how I got to know a certain author I admire deeply. I first knew him through his books, of course, but I once wrote him a letter, cheekily blaming him for my terrible taste in men in my early 20s. His romantic characters were so compelling, I kept finding myself drawn to troubled men I thought I could save. He wrote back with such humor and kindness, explaining that he'd written that love story while being in the worst marriage imaginable, trying to envision what a perfect relationship could be. We became pen pals after that. He was the first person who told me to stop fighting my creative nature and to just embrace being an artist. Hearing that from my writing hero was like his letter encouraging me on my 30th birthday when I felt I was too old and hadn't achieved enough still sits by my bed. He helped me realize that creating these stories for you week after week is such a gift. I don't have to wait for anyone's permission or for funding. All I need to invest is my heart and my time, which leads to a very simple but profound question. Am I kind? Yes. I can say with certainty that I am kind and generous, but I learned a long time ago not to confuse kind with nice. I'm not someone who will be falsely nice just to avoid rocking the boat, but my heart is absolutely full of compassion and empathy for strangers, for my loved ones, and for animals. I do write every story and meditation myself, though I am open to submissions. And yes, for those asking, I would love to revisit the Secret Room series. If you have any ideas for where a secret room could be, please do let me know. I do think about moving sometimes, fantasizing about living in the places I write about, but I always come back to my love for this city and my flat here. My favorite place for a big holiday changes as I love to see new parts of the world. Vietnam and Croatia were absolutely unforgettable. But for a short getaway, it will always be Fire Island. It's an incredibly beautiful and safe place with no cars, dog-friendly beaches, and a rich history that speaks to my soul. Two meditations I'm particularly proud of are my migraine relief, one and another called You Are Safe. Both were born from my own incredibly difficult experiences with physical pain and PTSD. To have gone through those dark times and be able to create something that has helped thousands of other people is one of the most meaningful things in my life. It's a chance to turn struggle into understanding and healing. My creative process is woven into every moment of my day. It's about being present. When I write about smells and sensations, it's because I try to move through my own life with that same attention to detail. I'm constantly pointing things out to my niece. What do you smell? What do you feel? What do you hear? In a world where it's so easy to be overstimulated and distracted, being truly present is the most vital part of being an artist. I've been singing since I was a little girl, and though I don't do it as much these days, I do hope to record something for the holiday season this year. As for my ideal job, I truly feel like I have it. Running this sanctuary and teaching are so fulfilling. But of course, the dreamer in me wouldn't mind being a novelist, or perhaps even the captain of a sailboat, disappearing onto the water for years at a time with my pup. For now, though, I'm quite content creating those worlds right here for all of us to share. And that brings us to the end for now. Thank you for all of your wonderful questions. If I missed any, please let me know. And thank you, most of all, for being here with me for so long. For those who are new, welcome. We're heading into autumn now, the season of cozy jumpers, and I can't wait to see what stories it brings. Thank you. And remember, it's time to dream. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of your night. May you find deep peace and restful sleep. Wishing you the sweetest dreams. If you liked it, please like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.